We are recording this podcast on lands that were stolen from their traditional custodians. I'm on Durrig and Gundungurra land, Holly is on Ngunnawal and Gambri land, and Pomma is calling in from Onondaga land. All of these nations, along with so many across the globe, were violently displaced as a result of colonisation, and we continue to see the effects of that today. Welcome to Somebody You Love, or The Sale of Two Titties. I'm Jenna Love.
And I'm Holly Hart.
And we're experts in disappointing our parents, breaching community guidelines, and banging the people who vote against our rights.
Pomma Granet, also known as Blair Bishop, also known as OnlyPomma, Juicy Pomma, Succubus Slut, and a host of other usernames, given how many times they've had accounts deleted, is a New York-based full-service sex worker, adult content creator, BDSM and fetish provider, cammer, and much more. And cat parent. Blair describes themselves as a bit of a nerd. They love video games, cosplay, anime, crafting, and alternative fashion, and they are often travelling the country for anime conventions. They also spend a lot of their time online yelling into the void about sex workers' rights, and thus they fit right in here.
Hello, Pomma. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
I love having a different accent on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Our absolute pleasure. All right, let's jump into it. First of all, we ask this of all our guests. Please tell us a little bit about your sex work journey. What is your origin story?
So I have been doing sex work for a while, since I was about 18, 19. I guess a bunch of culminating factors kind of put me here. I had graduated graduated high school and I was going into college, and I am autistic. I am disabled. I was starting to kind of crumple under a lot of the pressure and expectations, especially somebody coming from, a school where I had a lot of resources and a lot of accommodations. I learned very hard and quickly as an adult or a young adult that that's not really how the real world works. And also learning quickly as a young adult, like, you got to pay your bills. Life comes at you fast. Yeah. So I also just knew that working a normal 9-to-5 with the pay and lack of benefits and accommodations was just not sustainable. So I started camming and sugaring. And from there kind of was like, I think I would do better doing some full service work. Just because of the expectations. I was meeting some of my supporters and fans off cam, which, obviously you're not supposed to do, but I was. And I was realizing that the things that they were wanting and expecting, I could probably just charge hourly. So I started exploring other forms of sex work. At that time, I was in contact with my family. At this time, I am not. But my father was also disabled, and I was accommodating my brothers who were also still in high school, and just the pressure and responsibility as a parentified child. You do what you gotta do to figure shit out. But I'm really happy that I did start doing sex work, and I'm very happy that I am here.
Now, I might dive into a couple of things, but obviously anything that you're not comfortable sharing, please don't.
Yeah.
When you said, when you said sugaring, you did a big laugh, and I'm wondering what that is.
So sugaring, I have just a weird experience with personally. Some people might know, I did have a sugaring relationship for about 7 years with a man. He did pass away this December. He was my first and my last.
Wow.
So, I was dabbling in that
sugar
world.
monogamy. Sugar monogamy.
Sugaring,
sort of, but not.
It's so
interesting.
There's a level of finesse and game and manipulation that sometimes you have to bring that can be incredibly difficult. Yeah. And depending on the dynamics that you have with certain people, there were times where I was like, I want to quit. Like, it's so hard to upkeep this, like, you know, the overnights and the certain expectations for not the most generous of allowances sometimes, you know.
Yeah. But consistent.
Which is
valuable.
Which that is, you know, me and my sugar daddy in the past, I would say that our dynamic changed over the years. It, you know, $300 for a couple hours together turned into $600 for a couple more hours together. But that consistent paycheck, you know, weekly or monthly, minimally, I mean, that was my rent. That was, you know, a bill. And depending on, you know, the dynamic I was having with certain people, it was more sustainable than others. So I spent a short time looking for sugar, and I spent a long time in the sugar bowl with a specific type of person, if you know what I mean. I don't know if I'll ever find somebody like that again. I don't know. Some of my clients, since learning of his passing, have been like, what if
you got an opening? Yeah.
Which I'm like, I learned some things that I don't know if I would go back to, like, now.
Do you think that overall that it was a positive dynamic, a positive experience, or do you look back and feel that it was a net negative?
It was, I think, a positive. Okay. I think I have elevated my lifestyle and my game in ways through that experience that I'm really grateful for. That's not to say there weren't times in it that were incredibly traumatic, honestly. Wow, this man was a menace to society and a menace to himself sometimes, but I did really care about him. When I first met him, like, he couldn't walk. He really didn't have confidence to be leaving his home. Wow. And through our time together, like, he got a knee replacement. He was able to gain back some of his confidence.
Wow.
Being, you know, neurotic men are neurotic men.
Oh, yeah.
Like, mental illness is mental illness. But I think we both enhanced each other's lives in ways that were really beautiful and unique and interesting. But yeah, I do miss him. Come back.
That's
nice and sad.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
I think,
of course.
Like, that's how I got started in the industry, was dabbling in sugaring. And I think a lot of people do that. But there's only one other person I can really think of that I've come across that has had a long-term arrangement and been really that, and it is incredibly complex, incredibly nuanced and good and bad. And it's a really tough one. So,
I was really thankful that I was so scared that people weren't going to, like, honor our, like, because, you know, 7 years with someone is 7 years with someone. That's a long time to
100%.
Like, cater to somebody else. Like, but my friends and my community were so nice to me over it for the most part. It's typically strangers that are, like, weird as fuck. But yeah, I really appreciate that I can at least openly talk about him without it being like, ew, what is that? Like,
yeah. I think you're right. 7 years is 7 years, and I think it's as simple as that, right? We have people in our lives. And that's,
oh God, yeah.
Yeah, right. And then my other thought was around your folks, your parents.
Yes.
So when you said they were initially in your life,
yes,
when you first entered the industry, did they know you had entered that you were doing sex work?
Yes, I think my father was in a weird form of, like, denial.
They do that.
Yes,
they do that, and I think my mom found it funny. Like, I think because she would make, like, offhanded comments about, like, me licking boot or, like, me, I don't know, just weird. And I'd be like, I don't know what you think I do at work.
Yeah,
but it's sometimes the other way around. I was like, oh.
Interesting.
They're not out of my life because of, like, the sex work. We just have vast, like, you know, family differences that, you know, at some point you grow up and your frontal lobe cures and you're like,
yes,
can we talk about whatever the fuck that was? Like, they're not always interested in doing that.
Oof. No. Relatable.
Yeah.
I think Holly's had the experience of them not being interested, and I've had the experience of them being interested in it and it kind of coming good. But I know that I think I'm one of the rare ones. So
yes, my father was like a dancer. He was like a stripper when he was younger and a bodybuilder and did all this, you know, wacky little things that a little guy does. So I think he, as long as you're safe, as long as you're, whatever that means to him, like, you know, I just think, it's a vibe.
Nice. Yeah.
It's a vibe. Yeah.
We'll take that. You know, sometimes our parents sort of have a little bit misguided encouragement of what we do, but like we'll take that over the opposite.
True.
So
deeply.
Yeah.
Better than the alternative sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In regards to escort advertising sites and porn sites, but also crucially social media, can you talk to us about the role the internet plays for you in being a sex worker?
It is unfortunately necessary. Like, it is unfortunately dire. I always say this to people and they laugh, but like, I've gotten clients off the For You page. I've gotten like TikToks For You page.
I have now too.
It's like, fuck.
I was not expecting that at all. Yeah.
From people reposting my content, you know, I didn't ever want like activism to be part of my brand or part of like what, but I couldn't maintain visibility. Like anytime I was shaking my ass or like doing anything cute, it was being removed. So I do have the unfortunate ability to be insufferable over things. So I was like, fuck this. I'm going to be very loud and insufferable and wield my voice in a way that is, because what the fuck? Like, especially after like SESTA, FOSTA, and some of these online safety bills, like our backs are up against walls. Like, I'm noticing people who never, ever, ever would have done sex work, ever. Like, we're online, you know, are now doing fan sites and are doing online work.
Yeah.
Online workers are now dipping their toes into dancing, full service, in-person, dom work. And then people who are doing porn or who have been doing that sort of thing are now, you know, adapting into other stuff.
Yeah.
And the internet is really a tool, and I think a really important barrier between like workers and clients. It's an incredible privilege. Also, I feel so bad, but because people repost my stuff, like people are like, "Oh, that bitch is spitting facts." What's their OnlyFans like? Like, what's their, you know? I really appreciate the curiosity, and I really appreciate like the crawling ability, right, to survive. This is not how things should be. It's wrong, and it's kind of scary and fucked up, because I'm like, what if I don't have my platform anymore? Like, do I just not have clients? Do I just not have... It's... so, like, I rely on it in ways that I really don't want to be.
Yeah.
I wish I could just delete all my shit all the time and just... But you can't...
Yeah, well, this is it, right? Like, you know, whenever I speak to people that have been in the industry for a long time or who are no longer in it but used to be, the way that you almost have to have a social media brand in order to make money was unheard of 15 years ago, say, you know, and it is so crucial. And there are you know, a handful of people out there making money without it. But, you know, and especially when it comes to online work, you know, we know that these sites have very little, if any, internal traction.
None.
So you have to be directing people to it somehow.
Yes.
Like, we have to be on social media in order to make money from online work. It's like non-negotiable, right?
Yeah. I think it also speaks to a lot of people are upset over like the pornification of the internet, or, you know, people are in spaces, you know, why am I seeing sex workers on my Facebook feed? 6 to 7 years ago, if if sex workers had told me, I'm going to be adding you on Facebook, we're going to be in like each other's comment sections in that way, I would be like, absolutely fucking not. Like, we have boundaries. And like,
yeah.
Now it's like, that's one of the few places I find me like being able to congregate community and being able to is Facebook, because just TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, I mean, I'll start group chats with girls to like do events or go places, and then one of their profiles will be wiped or somebody, and it's so violent. And I think it's so frustrating watching people blame sex workers for the way that we constantly have to adapt under such like horrific conditions. I don't want to have to play off your dangerous curiosity on like your For You page like that. I don't like this. This is wrong for me too. But at the end of the day, if it's pay my bills or make you mildly uncomfortable because you have to see like me on your, I'm so sorry. I'm coming in hot. Like, I'm so sorry. Like,
or because you have to parent. Like, sorry.
I'm so sorry. Like, go talk to, I just responded to a video yesterday on TikTok where this mother was like, my child knows my social security number. She's talking about her 7-year-old. How like her 7-year-old can make an OnlyFans. How her 7-year-old can.
Why is there any of that?
I'm like, why does your 7-year-old know your social security number, let alone hers? Like, what is going on there? Also, like the facial recognition stuff they do when you're like, you gotta do the whole.
Yep.
I was like, all of this weird bullshit to say what? You don't like, whores online. You don't like us. This has nothing to do with your 7-year-old. It's weird. Yes. Go parent your child. Like, the internet isn't even safe for us. Like, you and I, like, are, you know what I mean? Like, none of us here are, why the fuck are you putting your kid on it? Let alone talking to them maybe about some really hard things, like predators and pleasure. I know that's, like, upsetting, but, like, talk to your 7-year-old.
I learnt recently, and I don't have a source for it, but if I can find it, I'll pop it in our description, that the percentage of the internet that is made up of porn, the amount of porn, like the percentage, how am I phrasing this very poorly? The percentage of porn on the internet out of total content on there was at its peak in the 90s.
Interesting.
Okay.
So this idea that there is more porn than ever on the internet is actually not true. Like, sorry, there probably is more, but not percentage-wise.
Probably the difference is that there are now more children on the internet than there were before because the internet is in their pockets. And I totally appreciate how challenging it must be to parent, particularly in this day and age where how can you know what every child is doing at all times? But as you said, those conversations such as predators and pleasure and consent and boundaries and all of those things are really important conversations that need to be had.
Yes. Consistently, age appropriately. And I think a scary conversation is a lot of these parents don't know how to have those conversations because who teaches these also traumatized parents how to talk about pleasure? No one talked to them about pleasure or their own boundaries or consent. So I can't imagine the weird shit they project like onto their kids. I've seen it like in my own personal life. Like I've seen it out in public and like weird, and you never know what to do because it's like, you're at risk for looking like a pervert or like trying to be like, hey, maybe you're like kind of being weird and hard on your 6-year-old at a urinal right now. Like chill out a little bit. Like, but then also like, which in America, I don't know about in Australia, like children are tools to get into homes a lot of the time.
For like welfare systems, you mean?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So if parents are, if there's a and that's where like the gender and sexuality conversations get to be really scary for some parents. Like if you see a kid with like long hair playing at the playground, are you going to report him to CPS because maybe you think his mom is doing, do you know what I mean? And I think that's something also parents fear, but they won't maybe openly talk about that because like CPS is very taboo, like welfare is very taboo.
They're afraid of having those conversations because it might be perceived that they're influencing their children in politically incorrect ways, and then their children could be taken off them or they're used against them. And gosh, that's complicated.
Yes, because then the kids go to schools. it's very layered. And that's why, like, when I have these conversations, I feel so bad because it's like, yeah, like, parent your kids, but then it's like, do parents have the tools to parent their kids? And then it's like, what repercussions do parents have for
especially
parenting
in
their kids?
conservative
Which is
environments
like,
where people are going to be looking at everyone else's children and making judgments and then creating rage or within the community. Like, that's an awful thought. Wow.
Yeah, it's like a bad shit pie that like nobody
bad
wants
shit pie.
to engage with. Yeah, it's really bad.
As opposed to those really good shit pies.
Those really good ones.
Yeah.
No, it's like so bad, but then I think it's just so easy to scapegoat sex workers at the end of the day for those.
Yes, it is. Yes, you're right.
You know.
So, Pomma, as Australians, we absolutely felt the impacts of Foster Sesta. And we have referenced it a number of times on our show, but we'd really love to hear your perspective on it as an American, because we see it as quite a crucial point in the timeline of policing sex workers in online spaces.
Yeah, Sesta Fosta, I remember crying in my dorm room trying to talk to my partner at the time, and I was really worried about, obviously, sex workers. It had major effects on, like, our resources and our blacklist and our, Backpage and Craigslist, obviously. But something that is chilling me today, like now after years, right? Like hindsight's 2020, the way it's being used to censor the internet, not just for sex workers, but for like information for trans people, when people are speaking out against apartheid and genocide happening in Gaza. I remember talking to my partner at the time being like, I'm really scared about how this will affect information sharing in the future. Right now, it's obviously sex workers, and sex workers are still affected by it, right? But just how much information is being removed at the expense of like safety and protecting people. And I lost my most recent TikTok for posting information in my story against, apartheid and genocide, which, I talk about sex workers' rights all the time, and I'm so used to losing my platforms for such things, which it's almost like, I'll just get back up every single fucking time. I'll just get back up. I don't care. This, like, scared me. I was like, okay, like, when will the Reddit threads for resources be wiped? When will and especially with the mass reporting and the censorship tools they've kind of built into things. I mean, it's just been so chilling. Obviously, like, I watch the way in which sex workers are so deeply affected. Something that I kind of hate now is like it hasn't stopped. Like, we still have COSA. We still have like a lot of these other online safety legislation where like sex workers are still looking for a chip to dip within those conversations. They're still looking to like provide like some sort of like resource, and people still like won't clue us in on those conversations. I feel so like crazy sometimes listening to people be like, yeah, my post was taken down, or I can't sell on Etsy anymore. I can't. And it's like, hi.
I know.
Like,
yep. Yep.
And people don't seem to take it seriously outside of the sex industry until it starts to happen to them. And they're all going, oh, our posts are being taken down. And we're saying, we've been screaming about this for ages.
For so long. For so long. I call it Trojan horse legislation. I think a lot of people at this point are kind of understanding the facade of how children and safety, right? I don't know what is in store next. I think Sesta Fosta obviously needs to be repealed. I know with this upcoming election here in America, a lot of sex workers are deeply traumatized by our options. We got extreme fascism, Orange Man, or Kamala Harris, and she has obviously done an incredible amount of like support and damage towards the industry. It's been foul. It's been so horrible. I always say I don't want to be right, I want to be happy. Like, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm so tired of, but yeah, fuck Sesta Fosta. It's so cruel. People have had to adapt in such extreme ways. They don't have the resources anymore.
Well, it all ties back into what we were just talking about, where people are so upset that we're in different spaces.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we tried to fight against this. Like, we didn't want this either, you know?
And I always consider, like, how much labor do I really want to do with, like, Craig in a comment section right now? Like, because trying to break this, like, it's so much, like, where do we start? Do you want to start while you're seeing my tits on your Facebook feed right now? Like, do you want to genuinely talk about how algorithms work, Craig? And why you're probably seeing some of this stuff, like...
And do you want to talk about how much those things that have impacted that scenario have actually prevented any of the sex trafficking that they were touted as going to do?
Yes.
Because that's not happening either.
Yeah.
And that's the conversation, right? Like, where is all the sex trafficking? Where is all of this, like, that you supposedly... Why do you keep introducing more and more, like, of this legislation when, like, what did it do the first 3 times that we've put it up? Like... And here in America, I mean, they kill legislation and then it's just reintroduced in the next cycle. And then it's killed and it's reintroduced in the next cycle. And then it actually makes it through the House and the Senate. And then it's actually killed again. But it's like you have to be so consistently hyper-vigilant. And there's so much other shit to be fucking worrying about. Like, for the love of God.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, it's so...
Absolutely.
Yeah, it does nothing to protect victims. It's so useless.
Yeah.
Something you talk about a lot is deplatforming and how it's an act of violence. Can you explain to our listeners what deplatforming is and how it constitutes violence?
Absolutely, I can. So, deplatforming is essentially taking away people's ability to utilize platforms. It's removing their profiles. It's shadow banning. It's essentially removing you from social media, which a lot of people...
It might be worth explaining what shadow banning is.
Oh, shadow banning is where you can still post and you can still, like, interact, but you're essentially hidden. You're not showing up in searches. You're not showing up in tags. You're not showing up unless people are very specifically able to, like, at and go to your profile. And it's essentially a platform as a way of, like, hiding you under a little rock.
Yeah, it's like you're secretly banned. You don't know about it, kind of.
Yeah, when... people are, I mean, social media at this point is such a crucial part of people's daily interactions, whether that be friends or family or even forming community or engaging in hobbies. There have been a couple of times where Facebook, Meta, has gone down within the last year, like twice, and people they're going to Twitter frightened. They're going to other, social media frightened because they can't access whatever it is they need to. It is very jarring to wake up. I've woken up a lot of times. I take a lot of naps. I love a good nap. I wake up and all my shit is gone. Or I wake up and I have like a $500 tribute and all my friends are asking me if I'm okay. And it's because all my friends are watching me get wiped away and I don't know that's happening yet until I like actually open my eyes. But because of the lack of access to like Backpage and Craigslist and our advertisements and our resources, a lot of sex workers have had to turn to social media as a way to maintain some sort of identity and interest and engagement. And when we are losing all of that and we're losing our visibility, we're losing income, we're losing community, we're losing spaces that we have worked so hard to cultivate. And it's so like weird because if like I was talking to any normal person about their like Facebook and their crochet group, like they would absolutely understand why like that would make them so sad and it would be so hurtful and it would really like all that hard work for what? And especially depending on like I personally lose all of that information I disseminate. Like I personally lose all of that, the time I sit down to film videos, I've had like hundreds of drafts just, taken.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah.
And it's not just being deplatformed from social media. You can be deplatformed from Airbnb for being a sex worker.
That's a big one. Yep.
And I just want to clarify, sorry, I don't know if you're about to go
absolutely.
there, but I just want to clarify for people listening that Airbnb, you might think, oh, well, I don't think our listeners are thinking this, but you might think, well, you're using somebody's home for even when we're just going on holidays, not even when
Yes.
we're not planning to use the place for any sort of sex work adjacent or any
Yes.
sex work activities, sometimes when we're just going on holidays, they've used some sort of facial recognition or something to know that we
Yes.
exist as a sex worker, and they have removed our opportunities to go on a holiday alone or with our family. So this is the extent of deplatforming and why it's just so intense and so jarring, because it's not just about our sex work. It's about who we are as a person totally being undermined. Sorry, go ahead.
No, absolutely. Something that I really want people to understand is that digital discrimination and the deplatforming that sex workers face online also translate into the way in which we're treated in real life. It also affects our banking. It affects our housing. It affects the way that we're able to essentially to care for our children, our immigration statuses. When we're essentially chased off every platform ever because we're conflated so closely with abuse and trafficking and exploitation, it's so easy to frame us as victims or criminals or both outside of online spaces. And it's so pervasive, and it leaves sex workers constantly lying to authority. I have to constantly present as like an informal educator.
Yes. Yeah.
Or an influencer or some sort of,
And this comes back to that problem where we're popping up in spaces people aren't expecting us, because we've got to be like, we're quote unquote a blogger, or I'm and that's because we can't say what we are because we'll be booted off.
And there's nothing protecting us. It's not like when we are open and transparent, people come to our aid or our support, or, how dare you take them off Reddit, or, we are left really to lie and avoid and sustain whatever we can to survive. I'm seeing a lot of rage bait culture and reactionary, attention is currency online right now, especially with the monetization of platforms. That also leaves sex workers making hard choices on how they want to post, how they want to interact. People are very upset that sex workers are under viral posts on Twitter, saying whatever. It is, at the end of the day, I really think we need to be addressing the deplatforming, the digital discrimination, how that translates into real life discrimination. Holly was talking about how, we just go on holidays sometimes. I have a very tumultuous relationship with Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I was almost arrested at the border years ago. I would say maybe 2017, 2018, a while ago, for trying to go up there and work. I had a client I was going to see. Yep. They pulled me out of that car and searched everything. But long story short, every time I go up there now, I have to really bitch and complain that I'm there for a concert. I'm just because I'm a whore doesn't mean I don't listen to music.
Because it's not that far from you, right?
It's like 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's so close. And anytime I go up with other people, if I have especially if they're men, I swear to God, I could have Beavis and Butthead next to me and they'll be like, are you trafficking this woman? It's not funny, but I look at them, I'm looking at these boys they're abusing me. I have to show them, con tickets or hotel receipts. I have to, I have been I am a person and you are reducing me down to my job in ways that is really upsetting. And I can see little porno stash border patrol, he's pissed off. He's I want to ruin your whole life right now, but I can't because I know that you're right. And it's
it's a power trip.
But I can go up, I can get up there. I just have to humanize myself in ways that are I'm shaking by the end of it and I don't even want to go anymore. I don't even want to be here.
Yeah, dehumanizing. It's fascinating to hear an American talk about that because the perspective of Australian sex workers is that we're all terrified of trying to go to the US. That's the big one for us. So to hear that it's equally difficult for you to try and leave is interesting.
And I actually just applied for a passport. And all this facial recognition has me, especially
Absolutely.
but I've noticed that this version of me, my face ID will let me in, but if I do my makeup, how I do on, it won't let me in. So I'm kind of like, if I don't, I got my passport picture done. I have like no eyebrows on. Okay.
Yep.
Like I have
Yep.
like, and they're like, is this an accurate photo of you? I was like, so accurate. It's the most
Yeah.
accurate. Put it right through, because like I look like
Use
a
it.
gremlin. Yeah. I'm like, I look like an ant. Like I'm like, whatever will get me, like I want to travel. Like I want to do things. Like, and I worry about coming back. Like I'm like, what does that look like? I've never. My ex went up to Canada and then came back, and he said that the border after COVID, highly military. It was, kind of militarized then, but it's like weird now. It's like weird now. So I was like, this is going to be good. This is going to be great.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah, it is hard trying to get people to understand how this translates into violence in real life. I had somebody come to me, and an older woman was like, I saw your video on banking discrimination, and I never knew that was something that could ever be done to you. Like, I thought you just hand a bank money. They have morality clauses, just as social media, and Airbnb has morality clauses on, and it's to save their asses. It's to protect them in some way. It always is. It'll never be about protecting and saving anyone but themselves. But it's very pervasive. I know that I'm due for another deplatforming soon.
Don't tempt
Isn't
fate.
It's been too long, and I get you. Yeah,
I see some of my friends getting wiped away right now, and let's be for real. Like, we know when Instagram is sweeping.
Yeah.
Like, please.
Yeah. It makes me think as well of when Holly was talking about Airbnb and you were talking about the border, like dating websites, for instance.
Oh, that's another one.
We are not allowed to date. We're not allowed to date. We just aren't. And that's all. And that's generally they're not suspecting that we're trafficking victims in that case. It's all that we're soliciting.
Yeah.
But there's no evidence of soliciting. It's just that you're existing, and it just makes you feel as though we cannot exist without being seen as soliciting. And as criminals and as victims and as all those things all rolled in one. When it's like, I would just like to go and get my groceries, but apparently I'm soliciting. Apparently my existence is trying to make people have sex with me.
Yes. And I think it's, very interesting to me. This is something I fight with, like, the radical feminists and, like, the Swerves online sometimes is, what am I? Am I simply my job? Am I a person? Am I only allowed to be in sexual spaces and that's the only time I can be interacted with? Or am I supposed to give all of that up to be a person? And I see so much of this, your inability to get your groceries, your inability to get an Airbnb, your inability to just simply use DoorDash because you have gifts or whatever. It does reinforce this idea that you are nothing but your job. You are nothing but a sex object. You aren't, which is so funny because that's what they're trying so hard to, like, not reinforce is the objectification, but you are objectifying me further through this, like, which is like, that just gives me brain worms and makes me want to, like, throw up. like, what is that? Like,
Yeah. Obviously, very excitingly for you, I'm sure. Oh, okay. I got to say, sorry, I've had some head thoughts. I've got to say, from here, our perspective, the US, like the election trail is so lengthy. It goes on for so freaking long. Yeah. Ours, like, you could accidentally forget to vote some years. You know? Like it's...
It's a blip.
It goes by
like and we get fined if we don't vote. So it's like
and we don't have as much of the advertising sort of insanity that the US has, where it's just in your face.
But we get yours. Yeah, we have to. Yeah,
yes. It's like they're celebrities, like almost.
Yes, there is a real cult of celebrity and of identity for sure. That's what. I mean, we have that too, but in a way less.
That's the compulsory voting thing here. Is that the advertising isn't as prominent. Yes,
it's not as necessary. Exactly, you don't have to force people to vote. Like you don't have that initial hurdle.
It's a circle jerk here. It's all they do is just exude. Like, it's the worst.
But yes, I said the US election getting closer, but it feels like I've been hearing about it forever. But we are, of course, hearing a lot about Project 2025, and part of that includes criminalising porn. And that's one part that some of the vocal left wing, as you mentioned, radfems and swerfs, people are saying that they actually support. So could you explain to our listeners what Project 2025 is? Because I think maybe not everyone in Australia is fully up with it, including myself, to be honest. And also talk about your thoughts on when the left and the right come together in unity against porn.
So yeah, Project 2025 is essentially a fascist, extremist Christian manifesto. It's like a little, playbook, and they want to essentially use that to influence our executive branches. That's the presidency. That is our judiciary, our judges. That is our cabinet. That is the House, the Senate, Congress. And that's also local government. So it's top down federal down to local influencing. And they have different ideas on anything from immigration to gender and sexuality to, cultural war type abortion, pornography, that sort of thing. And I think people are often surprised that something like this is a thing or it's even a threat when this is the foundations of America. It is a country founded on the rape and murder of indigenous people and chattel slavery and some of the most nightmarish torments of horrors laying the foundations for this. And especially with neoliberalism and the way in which it festers in this country, it was only a matter of time before we got a little playbook. The right is incredibly good at organizing and stacking courts, and they do, I call it grooming, but it's essentially a preeming and a grooming of young men and young people to be taking on these roles. It's not just old conservatism, it's also young conservatism and extremism, unfortunately blooming. And I'm not gonna lie, prior to Kamala Harris's announcement, I was ready to just figure out how to lay down and survive this. I genuinely did not think there was a way to stop Project 2025 with the way things were going. That does not mean I don't think we are trading in one sort of extremism for another sort of extremism. And that's what I'm very worried about. That's a whole thing. But surprisingly enough, a lot of people do agree on the porn ban. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Stormy Daniels.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys by chance watch her documentary or have it?
No.
I highly I highly recommend. I thought I was gonna hop on stream next week and watch it and do a little, because prior to watching it, I had a lot of hard thoughts and feelings about her as a conservative sex worker, right? This put a lot of things into perspective, and with the recent indictment off of her testimony, and I do really worry about him using pornography and sex work as a projection of his true feelings towards her and maybe what was done to get that indictment. I do be worrying about her safety and also all of our where we stand, because I know homie, if in office, is going to do some real incredibly horrific things. So it is very frustrating when I do talk to people and they do, sympathize with the porn ban. They don't enjoy pornography. They don't like porn. They don't like their boyfriends watching porn, whatever they thinking, because they do have more in common with fascists and extremists than I think they want to believe. Some people feel as though they can save themselves and their faces from the leopards by throwing certain groups onto the bus. And I beg people,
which we've seen it again and again and again throughout history,
every time. I'm begging people to understand that when they're talking about porn, it's not just pornographic material and sex workers, it's trans people. A lot of the time they're talking about trans people and gender nonconforming individuals. And that is the thing that I'm really I already know my ass is on this chopping block, but it's the coded language. The right, drag queen is trans person, that weird little 100%. Dance they do.
Yeah.
So trying to get people to understand on the left that Angel, it's not just the porn you don't like. It's your LGBTQ communities and friends and loved ones. I've even fought with like other trans people about this a little bit, trying to be like, hey, like there's a deep intersection here and you're in danger as I'm in danger. What are we doing besides infighting? Yeah, it's been a time. It's been so bad. And like I feel so bad because like, you know, obviously Project 2025 is bad and it's not okay and it's very scary. I just do still think we're trading in one form of extremism for another, and we do need to tackle the foundations of the country that I'm currently inhabiting, which is, you know, the belly of the beast.
Yeah, we recently had a referendum here. Do you know? I don't know if is that a global term? Yes, that makes sense.
I don't think. No,
I don't
tell
know.
me about it.
So it's. I don't even know if I can define it. Actually, maybe Holly's probably better than me at this.
Am I? Oh,
it's
gosh.
like a countrywide vote.
Okay.
Yeah, a yes or no. It's
on an issue. It's a yes
Yeah.
or no vote.
Oh, okay.
So the one we had previous to this one was, do we want marriage equality?
Oh.
And
prior
the
to that
yeses
was-
won, thank God.
Yeah.
do we want to become a republic? Do we want to?
So they're just big. Yeah, they
move
asked
away
the whole
from the
country
monarchy.
yes or no.
They would
Yeah.
never do that here.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
would never. They
Well,
would never.
historically, the answer is always no.
yeah.
The fact that the marriage equality one got a yes was pretty groundbreaking.
Wild.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because generally people don't want progress.
Yeah.
But the most recent one that we had was really devastating. It was essentially, do we want to recognise First Nations people in our constitution and give them a voice to Parliament?
They voted no.
and that- It's no, yeah. And pretty reasonably strongly.
That's awful.
I don't even know why I brought that up. There was some reason
No, but that's so.
or something. But yeah, it's awful.
That's-
It's really shameful. And
Yeah.
oh, that's what I was going to say. You know, a big, there were some prominent First Nations people who were sort of loudly opposing it, as is their right.
Yes.
And some of their arguments were, we don't want this we didn't ask for this colonial situation. So we don't want to be in your constitution. We don't want any of that. We want the whole thing abolished, you know.
Yes.
And I think that that's a really fair
Yes.
position for them to take.
Absolutely.
But then there was a lot of white people that were emboldened by that and were able to go, oh, well, the Aboriginal people don't want it anyway.
Yes.
You know?
God damn it.
Whereas I think like individually, as a sex worker, as a trans person, like, individually, you don't have to support
No.
any of the options that you're given.
Yes.
But I feel like as a group,
Yes.
publicly, and we have to.
Yeah.
And I know lesser of two evils is a bullshit stance.
Yes.
But it's all you've got.
Come
Yeah.
on.
Sometimes I see a lot of people talking about like, how do you play within the system that you are, currently inhabiting? What does
Yeah.
burning a house down look like when you're in it versus outside of it versus,
Yeah.
and I'm like, these are some, big conversations.
Yeah. It's tough. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
I'm certainly not going to be able to answer it.
no, but I'm hopeful that with this new, I see like an invigoration and like people they were laying down. They were like, God damn it. Like, fuck it. Like, God damn it. Like, we survived it once. Can we survive? And now I think a lot of people are like, what can we do? Like, what can we influence and pressure? Which, yeah, it's been really, the past like 4 weeks, people have been really like, it's like they're back again a little bit. Thank God.
There's some hope.
Yeah.
There is some
yeah,
hope.
Absolutely.
Bleak hope, but we'll take it. Oh, I mean,
A little
it's
bit
not
of a
even
treat.
my political, it's not even my country, but it affects us all,
It affects
Australia,
us.
we feel it.
Just like Foster
Yeah.
Sester.
Yes, a lot of time
get it too.
online, like people in my TikTok will be like, how does Sesta Fosta affect other countries? How does COSA affect other countries? Like, here in the U.S., I mean, when you get laws in one state, I mean, it's a matter of time before the states around it start to consider it.
Yeah.
New Jersey just introduced age verification as a possibility, which that touches New York. I'm whipping in my car the other day. I hear a little advertisement about how you have your IDs on your phone now. Don't worry, you have your IDs, which not like I can pull that up when I'm being arrested, not like I can bring that up at the airport, only for when I want to verify online for my identity or whatever, which I'm sitting there like, oh no, like we are so fucking cooked. Like we're so goodness.
There's been talks of that here too.
And that's the thing, right? Is like
to combat domestic violence.
Oh yeah, under the guise of safety, of course.
Because
that's how it works. That's what domestic violencers, violencers as a descriptor. Yeah, that's what violent people do. Is they?
That's an interesting.
It is.
That's an interesting Trojan horse.
Yeah.
Where they like the kid.
Yeah.
They're a little too smart for the kids. What if we do the? Interesting.
So it's that young people are being exposed to all this violent porn, and then that's why they're killing women.
Oh no!
I was not familiar with this.
Yeah,
Wow,
that's why women die, because
porn.
a man watched some porn.
Yeah.
Porn does not cause additional
Let's not blame
violence.
the man. Let's not blame the man.
And you know what? That's my biggest thing with Pornhub, low key. Is I know they're caught up in like litigation and stuff. Who's uploading this revenge material? Who's posting this, right? Like, why are they never part of the conversation? Why is it always Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, Pornhub? Where the fuck are these young men? And people like don't really enjoy when I be saying that because they're like, fuck Pornhub. Where is the accountability for like the addressal of rape culture? I don't know. It's always like, but yeah, I'm like, I have some questions.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my God, that's an interesting. I have to wait for that to kind of like.
Thanks for sharing that, Jenna.
Here.
I was not familiar. Yeah.
As you said, Trojan horses, right?
Yes.
How effective is that for a politician to get up there and say, we care about, male perpetrated violence?
Yes.
And so we have got a solution for you. How effective is that?
And I think
what a sell.
I think so much of it plays off a lot of people's trauma. And like I know, like, as somebody who's experienced patriarchal violence, that shit activates me. You know what I mean? Like that activates a lot of people to.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But then I also at some point in my life had to realize, like, even if you took away porn, like that wouldn't have stopped the sexual violence that I had experienced.
They've done research on whether games impact young people committing crimes or doing violence, and it absolutely does not.
Moral panic.
And then you go and look at sentencing here. I whinge about it to Jenna every week. There's somebody in the newspaper who has, and sorry to really generalize here, but it's a man often has done something really horrible to a woman and he's got a suspended sentence and he goes free over and over and over again. And then they do these ads saying violence against women. Australia says no. And I'm like, where? You're saying no in minimizing porn, but not in actually sentencing perpetrators, or make it make sense.
It's so interesting.
I'm so passionate about it.
Which is, to be clear to our listeners, we are not a group of people who
not pro-cop.
I'm going to speak.
No.
I don't know Pomma all that well.
We're
not very. Speak for me, baby. We're not passionately carceral people.
No, I'm very
free,
right?
No.
We generally we're not pro cop. We're not pro prison.
Fuck me.
But when we are looking at people getting 20 plus year sentences for receiving a package of drugs, and then we are seeing person after person after person, man after man after man, committing violent, heinous crimes and getting suspended sentences, which is like time served, essentially.
Yeah. Not even.
I mean, make it make sense.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't add up.
And then they cancel porn.
And they go, no, we're fixing the problem because we're going to ban porn. Because that's the problem.
God, that's so interesting.
Something's broken.
Damn.
So, do you have a shit people say?
Sometimes I will be like cuddling with some of my clients and we'll be just like ending, chatting, like, decompressing. And we'll sometimes talk about like sex workers' rights. We'll sometimes get on, because, they obviously have thoughts and opinions about, but it's not uncommon for me to be holding these men in my arms and for them to suggest the Nordic model to me.
Oh, no. Wow.
For them to be like, do you know that like up in Amsterdam and up in like Nordic countries, like sex work is legal? And like, I think it should be more like, to which I literally, every time I look at them and I'm like, do you know that if you left my in-call right now, you would be the one that's being arrested? And every time they're like, what do you mean? And then we have to like spend an extra like 5 minutes being like, here's what this actually is. And I just think it's so interesting the way in which this like propaganda is even like sold as a feminist facade to them. Like, it's even like they don't even fully know what the fuck they're supporting. But after like the second or third time it happened, I was like, do I need to do like a class when you walk in, or like what the fuck is like? But yeah, that's the one that always makes me like look at them and be like, you're so fucking cute. Like, you're so, tell me more.
I don't think I've ever had that. Have you ever had that, Holly?
Oh my God.
No, but that's what I'm thinking is interesting, because obviously in the US, where things are so much more criminalized in this industry, I suppose the clients have heard of this wonderful thing that exists in the Netherlands, but they don't even know that in Australia, like, why aren't they coming and going, hey, do you know in Australia it's mostly legal and, or, you know, decriminalized, but in their mind legal. And it's, you know, they all work and everyone seems to be pretty mostly, I don't want to say crime free, but mostly safe and happy within the industry. But no, they go to, like you said, propaganda by the Netherlands. Who knows? Amazing.
It's incredible, because every time I'm like, John, do you know? Like, do you actually know what the fuck you're saying? But that was my favorite, where I'm like, you're so fucking adorable.
Fascinating.
It is.
I feel like I need to say thank you to all my clients right now, because they would never.
Oh, but all of them, all of my clients, they already come to me and they know all about all of the right things, because they've been listening to Jenna's stuff and following her on all the socials for years. So they already are more educated than I am on everything in Australia regarding laws and sex worker rights. It's fantastic.
But again, this is another one of the million problems with criminalization, right?
Yes.
Is that it can't be spoken about as openly where you are. They can't access as much information readily, and they're not coming from like ours are coming to us being like, how great, this is really fun. No one's at risk here of from the cops, right? Who are the greatest fear. Sorry, I'm really rubbing that into you.
No, but it's so funny. Like, every time I'm like, are you stupid with love? Like, what the fuck? Like,
you silly child.
Like, oh God. That's probably my favorite. That's
wild.
Yeah, that is.
I love it. Really, thank you for sharing. That's great.
Yeah, it really does go to demonstrate the difference between. I think sometimes we talk to sex workers from other countries, and you sort of feel like, oh, we've got so much in common, and then you say things like that, and you're like, oh wow, yes, we are existing in totally different spaces. It's very privileged of me to say that, but it's you guys have got some.
I fear the
shit
fuck.
to deal with there.
Yeah, I fear the fuck out of the Nordic model. I'm just like, not that legalization is like a banger, right? But like, I don't know. I would submit to a brothel before I submit to honeypotting fucking I don't know. I'm like, fuck. Yeah. But yeah, that's why there's decriminalization legislation here in New York, and that's why I try to be so hard to be like, for love, because the other one's a Nordic model.
Yeah, they're the options.
I don't need that. Like, get that out of here.
I don't know her.
I don't know her. She does not represent me.
No. We've got one of our states keeps trying to get a Nordic model up.
Yeah.
It's our shameful. It's like,
it's a church state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like our Utah. Like,
yeah, it is.
No. No.
I've just offended everyone in South Australia.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
When you fly over Utah, like I fly over it, it looks so moldy. It looks moldy. And like, I asked somebody once, I went, why does it look like that? And they're like, it's because of the marshes. I went, the Mormons? They went, the marshes. I was like, stop. It's so like it's
the Mormons?
The Mormons? I was like, why does it look like that? And then you get to like Arizona and it's like normal again. I don't fucking know. Like,
yeah, interesting. Yeah. So it's a geographical phenomenon.
It's a phenomenon. Yeah, your skin prickles as you fly over it. You're like, you start to get hot. You're boiling. Like, the Jesus is burning you as you fly over. I always think of like catching fire when I enter a church.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I always think I might just. Yeah.
You fly over Utah and the turbulence kicks in and they go, is there a whore on the plane?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then immigration's like, yep, there is. We've got her face right
here on
the border.
On the clear.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Pomma, for joining us today. This has been so informative. We appreciate you sharing your insights with us and giving us an education on the state of the states, and particularly a deep dive on digital violence, which impacts all people online, whether they know it or not. Jenna and I also, I'm sure we agree that once you get your passport sorted, we would both love to do some crafting and video games with you. So if you get to make your way down to Australia, let us know.
You will be the first to know.
Hey.
Yes.
That'd be amazing.
That would be so
I would
sick.
love to. I've always wanted to go to Australia.
It's cool here, man.
Yeah, we'd love it.
There's also some terrible, but mostly cool. And the animals are not as bad as people make it seem.
Yeah, you'll never leave.
They're really
That's the
not.
problem. So thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on.
It's that thrilling time of the show again, when those of you who have stuck around to the very end, or maybe you're like gardening. Does anyone else do this? I do this. I'm gardening. I don't know why I'm gardening. It's very rare, but it has happened to me. And I haven't had my phone nearby. And then so the podcast just keeps playing and I hear all the crap at the end.
Yep.
So if you're in that situation, then sorry about that. But if you're just a super keen bean, then how lucky for you to be here with us. We are going to thank our gorgeous patrons.
What they don't realise is sometimes we get to the end and we make our best jokes. Like they're missing
It's
some of the
true.
most fun.
This is when the good shit is.
Yeah, this is the premium content. Oh, and our wonderful
it's
guest.
Because, oh, yeah.
Sorry.
But I feel like we get to this point and we're like, oh, cool, it's all over. And we
Yeah, we're being a
relax.
little
And
chill.
that's when the good shit happens.
Yeah, this is the secret. This is the special sauce of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, special sauce. I'll give you some special
Oh,
sauce.
you know I want it.
All right. We've got some new giving somebodies. They are Shiri and the Dr. Hilary Caldwell.
Heard that name somewhere before.
I heard it somewhere. Actually, there was an interview on this podcast.
What?
You should check it out. I'll send it to
Great.
you. Yeah.
New
I
Jenna.
know you don't really like podcasts,
I'm
but
not into podcasts. I've said that to a few people recently, and they've gone, what?
They're
And
like,
I'm like,
"What?"
yeah, don't. It's complicated. New generous somebodies this week. Dev's Lettuce. I love it. The Nikki Cox and the Callie Morrissey.
Our even more generous somebodies are the Riley McDonald, the Desiree Frambois, the Ashley Stafford, the Rhiannon Rhodes, Lachlan, Timmy, Steve, Adele, Scott C, Leslie, Sub London, NK, Andrew, Wheezy, Mr. E, Simon, Luke, Frankie, Cuddle Koala, Witty Comment, Alex, David, and Josh.
And our extremely generous somebodies, just so extreme, dude. Totally radical.
Extreme.
Radical, man. The
Out there.
The Madison Jones, the Sienna Saint, Aaron, Andrew, Adam Smith, Pete, Tom, Tim, and Mr. Sikunt.
All right, thanks so much, team. We'll see you next week. No, not next week. Next fortnight.
See
Or whenever
you
we get
when
around to putting another
see you.
episode out. Yeah.
Or when you spend time
bye.
with us in a pre-appointed and financially agreeable rendezvous. Rendezvous?
Except for Mum. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Well, no, you have to book
Hey.
in, but you don't have to pay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Please look out for us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon. Our name everywhere is Somebody You Pod, as in podcast. Our Patreon starts at just $3 a month, and you can get all of our episodes ad-free and a day early, plus bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes action, bloopers, and more. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the voices of sex workers. And remember, somebody you love might just be a sex worker.